Alright, continuing on with the male reproductive system, we looked at the essential organs, which were the testes, as well as spermatogenesis in the previous video. Now we're going to continue on from the testes. We're going to look at the ducts and glands, some of the accessory organs that are part of the male reproductive system. So once sperm are created in the testes, they've gone through spermatogenesis, they're going to need to be stored to prepare for exiting the body. Once they are actually created, they're not entirely fully mature yet, and so one of these structures is also going to play a role in maturing and kind of finishing the spermatozoa. So there's going to be four reproductive ducts that are going to be responsible for storing sperm and or permitting the passage of sperm. That's going to be the epididymis, the vas deferens, otherwise known as the ductus deferens, the ejaculatory duct, and the urethra. So let's take a look at each of these individually here. The epididymis is a very tightly coiled tube. If you were to stretch it all out, it would be approximately 20 feet long, and it is relatively comma shaped. Sperm are going to form in each of the testes and then be moved to the epididymis, where they will mature and develop and actually gain the flagellum that they have. That's going to allow them to swim over the course of 12 days that they're going to spend in the epididymis as they are maturing. And then once they are fully mature, they will also be held in the epididymis until they are ejaculated. So here you can see the comma shape of the epididymis. Kind of hard to tell how tightly coiled it is. You can see some of the bubbles associated with it, but it is very, very tightly coiled. That is where the sperm are going to mature and be stored. The vas deferens, otherwise known as the ductus deferens, is going to be the first thing that sperm are going to exit the epididymis during ejaculation, where the vas deferens will be coming off of the epididymis and will actually extend into the abdominal cavity. So it'll extend into the abdominal cavity anterior to the bladder, where it will then turn dorsally and then return back down inferiorly posterior to the bladder. So to picture that here is the epididymis. And then your vas deferens here is going to move superiorly, and it's going to be anterior to the bladder, which is this right here. And then it will move inferiorly on the dorsal side of the bladder. So this here is the vas deferens. The vas deferens is going to conjoin with another duct from a seminal vesicle, and it's going to form what's known as the ejaculatory duct. The ejaculatory duct will then continue on through the prostate gland and empty into the urethra. And then the urethra, that's where sperm are going to exit through that external urethral orifice to exit out of the body. You may remember from our urinary system, the urethra is also utilized for the passage of urine in the male reproductive system. So some of those glands here, while sperm are obviously the most important part of semen, they actually are a very, very small fraction of it, about 1/4 of a milliliter of total seminal fluid volume. And so the other 95% are going to be contributed by accessory glands. These three glands are going to be your seminal vesicles, the prostate gland, and the bulbourethral gland. We briefly mentioned the seminal vesicles and prostate gland, but we're going to talk about those a little more in depth now. So remember, the vas deferens is going to conjoin with a seminal vesicle, and that's going to form the ejaculatory ducts. The seminal vesicles are pouch-like glands. They're going to contribute around 3 milliliters of seminal fluid volume by adding a thick yellowish secretion that is very, very dense in fructose. Fructose is typically what we think of as our fruit sugar, but that fructose is what the mitochondria are going to utilize. Remember those mitochondria in the mid-piece of the sperm? It's going to provide the source of energy for those mitochondria to be able to burn and turn into ATP for that sperm as it swims along. And so this here, remember, the vas deferens is also known as the ductus deferens, and so that's what we have here, where it will conjoin with a seminal vesicle, and this is what a seminal vesicle looks like on the inside here, to form the ejaculatory duct. So those spermatozoa will be flowing through the ductus deferens here, And then this fructose secretion will be added in by the seminal vesicles at the ejaculatory duct. The ejaculatory duct will empty into the urethra through the center of the prostate gland, which is relatively donut-shaped and a walnut-sized gland before continuing on through the urethra. The prostate gland will add its own secretion. It's going to be a very thin, milky fluid, about 1.5 milliliters. And its job is going to be to actually activate sperm and allow them to maintain their motility or their ability to move. So here, the prostate gland, you can see here, you can't actually see where that ejaculatory duct is here because this one is focused on the urinary system, because the prostate gland is where both the urethra as well as the ejaculatory duct are going to pass through. And the prostate gland is going to be responsible actually for turning off and turning on which one is being used by the male reproductive system. So whether the male is in need of micturition to release the fluid in the bladder, or if it is needing to release semen, that prostate gland is going to be responsible for controlling which one is being used, as well as secreting this thin milky fluid to activate sperm. The bulbourethral glands, also known as Cowper's glands, are very, very small, about the size and shape of a pea, and they're going to be located just below the prostate gland. Their job is to secrete a very mucus-like substance into the penile portion of the urethra just prior to ejaculation. Those secretions are going to lubricate the urethra as well as clear it of any urine to decrease friction. Any sort of friction can cause turbulence in the flow, which can damage or kill sperm. So it's very important that you're able to lubricate and clear the urethra. But one thing you do have to take note of with the bulbourethral gland is that this will clear anything out of the urethra that is located there, which sometimes is old sperm. And so it is possible for these secretions to actually push sperm out of the urethra and into the female reproductive tract, which can actually lead to pregnancy. Very, very unlikely, as we'll see when we talk about fertilization. It's a numbers game, and so at this point you have a very, very low number of sperm, but it is possible because it is sperm exiting the urethra, and which could end up in the female reproductive tract. The bulbourethral glands are small again, so it's going to be a very small volume, actually about 1/4 of a milliliter of seminal fluid volume. Okay, so that is the ducts and glands associated with the male reproductive system. We have not gotten into external genitalia yet, but we're just taking a look at internal anatomy. So now we know that the path of the spermatozoa, they're going to go from testis to epididymis to vas deferens. Then they'll pass through a couple of glands, the ejaculatory duct, and then into the urethra with things like the bulbourethral gland, the prostate gland, and these seminal vesicles, all adding different fluids to help activate sperm, give them fructose to be able to burn for energy, as well as clearing the urethra. So all of these play a very essential role in male reproductive system.